I wanted to record a short video on a very simple scoop project that anybody can do, and it's a good time for Christmas. So here's the simple steps. First of all, I found some scrappy walnut. I cut it into squares that are about 1.5 inches square by about 3.5 inches long. These are going to be the lengths for the scoop, and since I had some defective walnut, I was able to harvest at least 2 scoops out of this block of walnut. So they are about 3.5 inches long. The idea is this gives me a material to hold in the chuck later on. So there's the bowls for the scoop. And so now I'm also going to cut out the stock for the handles at the same time. Add some holly, and I'm going to cut it about 3/4 of an inch square. And it's about 6 inches long. So I'm going to cut 2 of those pieces out also while I'm here at the bandsaw. Might as well do it all at once. All of these are going to be turned down to meet the project needs as we go along. So we have enough wood now cut for 2 scoops. A scoop and a handle, scoop and a handle. Good enough. So now I need to pick out the drill bits I need to use. I'm going to drill a hole in the bowl for the handle to be glued into. And I'm using a 3/8 inch drill bit for that. I've set that aside. And the bowl inside of the scoop is going to be 1 inch in diameter. And this is a Forstner bit I'm using. You can't see it, but I've ground the little tip off the center of the Forstner bit so that the hole in the bottom of the scoop is going to be flat. So there's the bits I need. I'm going to drill into the block, and I want it to go all the way through into the bowl. So I'm going to mark the drill bit so that it will project at least down into the center of the block. So I just mark that. So when I go to the drill press and insert the block, setting at a very slight angle so that the handle will stick up at a slight angle. Now I know when I drill into it, I'm going to go at least all the way to the center. So a quick drill. Drill the hole for the handle before you shape the bowl. Trust me, it's a lot safer and you'll lose a lot less projects by doing it in this sequence. So the hole's drilled and we're ready to go to the lathe. So I'm using what we call number 1 jaws, simply something I can hold this small block of wood between the corners. And the next thing I'm going to do then would be to drill the hole for the bowl of the scoop. And there's my 1 inch Forstner bit. Now if you have a smaller lathe, drilling into the end grain with a fairly large bit may put too much strain on your lathe. And you may want to drill a smaller hole first and then proceed to a larger hole with your Forstner bit. I have enough power here that I can bore with a 1 inch bit straight into this end grain without too much trouble. Now I need to drill a hole that goes beyond the depth of the smaller hole that we've already drilled. I know that 10 turns of my tailstock quill handle will advance the quill at least 1 inch. So I'm going to give it 10 turns, advance it 1 inch, and I'm going to see how clear I am of the hole. I want to be sure that the handle protrudes into the bowl and not anyplace else. 10 turns. Pulsing seems to work better than continuous turning. A little pulse, stop, a little pulse, stop. And I got my 10 turns in. I'm going to stop and make sure that the hole is as deep as I would like it to be. Be careful about touching that drill bit. It's going to be hot. Well, I would like the hole to be sure it clears that handle hole, and I think the hole could be just a little bit deeper. So I'm going to put another 1/10 of an inch, in other words, another full turn on the tailstock quill. And I'm going to call that done. So now the bowl is done. And we're now going to do some shaping. This is standard long grain work, so this is spindle turning. I have been using a small 3/8 bowl gouge for the project. You could be using a roughing gouge, shallow fluted gouge, spew chisel, almost any tool will do this job. But this is the tool I've chosen to use. So I'm reducing the outside diameter, but I'm also going to be giving it a little bit of curvature. I want to shape down towards the opening and a little larger towards the base. I'm going to actually have a flat bottom on the scoop when I get done with it. So you can see I'm beginning to pull the curve in just a little bit here. And as I go, I keep judging whether or not that depth is the right depth, a little bit more, a little bit less. And this is to your design, whatever you prefer. I do want to have the wall fairly thin, and I'm going to go under 1/8 of an inch. About like that. And now I have to reduce the other side of the giving it some roundness at the same time. Every time I shorten it a little bit to be aesthetically pleasing, the wall is a little thicker, so I have to go back and reduce it a little bit more. That should just about do that. Now it looks a little rough. I do want to check to see where the bottom of the hole is so that as I curve the base over, I'm curving it at the right location. So I'm going to a shallow fluted gouge at this point. Just a half a bead, clearing out some junk wood on the wrong side of the project. So the bore of this is 1 inch, and so that's plenty of room to get my finger in with a piece of sandpaper and clean up the inside as well as the outside. It's a smaller hole. You wouldn't want to risk getting your finger stuck, so you might want to wrap the sandpaper around a dowel if you're making a smaller hole. 1 inch seemed to feel safe. I'm using a thin parting tool and parting in such a way as to create a fairly flat bottom, maybe even slightly undercut so that the scoop will sit on a flat surface. Now that's not a completed surface, but that's as far as I can go until I go on to the next step. I've created a jam chuck, and I'm going to fit the bowl over this 1 inch jam chuck. I want a fairly snug fit so I can work the bottom. Once I get this set up just right, it'd be fine for any other scoops made with the same settings. So I'll force the bowl on. This allows me to get in and work now on the bottom of the cup itself. I'm going to be pushing towards the headstock rather than pushing across the project. An additional safety step. to assure that the piece will not be coming off accidentally. High speed here would be an advantage also. So as soon as I get this flat to my satisfaction, I now can come in with some sandpaper, clean up the bottom, perfect the curve going down towards the bottom. If you're doing a group of these, I would sand them all and finish the bottoms all at the same time. Well, for the one scoop, the project bowl is done, and now it's time to make the handle. So I'm going to keep my jam chuck for future use, and I'm going to chuck up my piece of 3/4 inch holly, from which I'm going to make the handle. Now I'm working between centers. One half is held in the chuck. The other half through live center on the far end will be held there. So it's a fairly safe turning project because I am between centers on this project. Now I have a 3/8 inch box wrench, which I'm going to use for my sizing fixture. As soon as that wrench fitches over snugly, I know I'm at the right size for the end of the handle. In this case, I've chosen to use my skew chisel to rough it out and to shape it down. But again, use any tool that feels comfortable to you. I know that the tailstock end needs to be 3/8 of an inch exactly, but slightly larger, so if I can sand it down for a snug fit would be acceptable. Slightly loose is not going to be okay. I'm bringing it down to round, but I'm also tapering it down towards the tailstock end. Be cautious of not going too far. I'm going to stop right at 3/8 of an inch. My focus right now is just on the part that will fit into the bowl. It's a snug fit, and it actually burnishes the wood a little bit when I push it on, which is going to be just perfect. So now I can work on the other end of the handle, shaping up the end that you hold on to. Now you'll see as I go through here, I know watching me plane down a piece of wood maybe is getting a little bit boring, but you'll notice that I'm also digging a little bit more wood out of the center. I'm creating a very slight cove in the center of that, just to add a little bit more interest to the shape. And you'll see me rotating the tool counterclockwise as I come up to the center section. What I do is take more wood out of the middle of the handle. And you can begin to see the cove shape coming into being here now. So, about ready to finish it off. The skew is giving me a nice clean cut, so sanding is not too much of a problem. So sanding will get really nice. Like in turning pens or any other project, sanding with the grain. At the end of this process here, we're just getting it smooth right now. And I'm avoiding sanding down onto that burnished area. I know that fit is perfect right now. I'm going to leave it that way. So when I get done with the circular sanding, we turn the power off and we sand long grain with the grain to take care of any circular marks that I might put on through sanding the other steps. So now we'll part the handle free. Again, skew chisel will give me a nice clean end grain cut and allow me to not have to do too much work to finish that end after I get it parted free. Just little light V cuts. And now just a little sanding strokes to clean up that last little bit. And the handle is pretty much done. Sorry about the camera work here. I was a little out of focus, but you can see that that plugs in real tight. And there is the assembled piece. A little drop of CA glue on that joint will secure everything together permanently. I'm going to use a little bit of Minwax wipe-on poly inside and out, soaking it into this porous walnut. Not so much for a finish, but for a seal, and then the excess is wiped free. So there's the scoop. Done. Simple. 2 steps. You can make a lot of them very inexpensively. Be a great stocking stuffer.